on, everyone? Welcome back to another Best Bet show. Let me know if you're in the chat. Let me know if you're on the YouTube. Come over to the Flashpicks YouTube where we have our Best Bet show. I have all my plays out, but I want to go over sides, totals, touchdown props, etc. We could sweat out this horrible London game going on. Anybody watching this London game right now? I have it on in the corner, and it's abysmal. I mean, I think the Jets have 5 rushing yards. They do have 5 rushing yards right now versus the Vikings. I think Aaron Jones is still hurt. I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like Aaron Jones is still hurt. I don't know what's going on there, but interception, touchdown. The Vikings are playing well as usual. The Jets are horrible. Yeah, I this looks terrible. I mean, it's pretty brutal. I'm not a Jets fan, but I mean, you have 6 carries for 5 yards in first half. I'm assuming they're probably not getting the ball back. So they're probably going to end up with 5 yards. Uh which is just absolutely absurd. I mean, we can go through the slate and talk. Yeah, I didn't stay away. I bet Conklin over receptions, and I'm pretty pissed off because I should have just played his yards. I thought he'd be more of like a underneath receiver. He started playing some slot. Thought he'd be a pretty much safety net for him, but hey, he's got 2 receptions, I guess, basically at half. Need 1 more and then 2 more with the mini ladder there to make the full amount of money. But yeah, that game is terrible. Would you recommend playing Sermon or Ford? I do like Ford. A lot of cover 2 looks. I like Ford receiving as well. Rogers still jet lagged. Yeah, I mean, listen, they're gonna try to make that game competitive, I'd assume. I'm assuming you're gonna see some penalties on the Vikings. If I had to guess, some holding calls this drive, whatever you want to kind of keep this game close. Yeah, we got a legal block in the back, a legal block above the waist. It looks like on the Vikings, pushing back a little further. I think you'll get some calls there. Last thing you want is Aaron Rodgers down 20 at half in your one London game for the week. So, with that being said, any questions in the chat, feel free to ask. A lot of good games this week. I mean, the injury bug is legit. I mean, the worst game on the slate is Dolphins at the Patriots. If you bet on any overs in that game, you need to call the number. That game is going to be just brutal. That game might be worse to watch than the game we're watching right now. Under 36.5 opened up at 45, just to show you how much they believe in Tyler Huntley. I think that under's still in play at 36.5. Obviously, wish you got it the other way, but I honestly think Tyler Huntley's not that bad. He was kind of thrown into the mix last week. Got a full week of practice in, got that full game in. I think he shows out a little bit. I think they're going to run a lot of good stuff with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle. I was trying to wait for some rush attempts line to see if they came up. If you get a Waddle rush attempts or Tyreek Hill rush attempts or rushing yards, I think that's a very good look. We saw Tyreek Hill with a handful of rushing attempts last week, and I think they're going to have to kind of keep being a little sneaky with some trick plays. You can't just have A-Chain dying on the hill. They're going to just stack the box on you and force Tyler Huntley to pass and make the running game very difficult. And I mean, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to anticipate that that's what's going to happen. So I'm looking right now to see if there's any lines out. The books are probably smart and not doing it. Last time we had to wait till closer to game time. But if you see Tyreek Hill with 0.5 rush yards or whatever it is, or even Jalen Waddle, I'd highly recommend looking at that because I think they're going to have to do that to keep this game interesting. And it's 3rd and 6 for the Vikings, and they have to punt the ball. It looks like the Jets are going to get the ball back. So if you're watching that game, maybe we'll get this game interesting for a 2-minute drill from good old Aaron Rodgers. So So yeah, I'm thinking some sneaky props in that regard. I'm trying to get some tickers posted over here on this thing. I don't know how to do that though. I thought I had stuff. I can add background music. Is that too loud? I don't like it. Sounds too dumb. Would you 8.5 receiving yards? Honestly, that's sneaky. You don't know what he's gonna do, how many snaps he's gonna play. But he's definitely not. Has he practiced? News. Let me just double check here. That is a sneaky play for him because that's just one catch. I'm assuming they try to get him thrown in there. I mean, hey, that wide receiver core is nice. It could be opened up. Is there another book that has that on there, or is that it? I'm looking right now. It's 7.5 on Bet Rivers, 8.5 everywhere else. I think 8.5 is probably where it should be. It's that's an interesting play. What you could do maybe is get a live spot of like 4.5 or something later. That's just a tough call for me, man. Um, I think it could be a sneaky spot. The numbers obviously very enticing, but it's just one of those where you're gonna be really pissed off if he's just not involved and plays a very limited amount of snaps. I thought I can get these tickers done. I know I'm stalling, not stalling, but trying to figure this out. Is it under banners? No. Did they turn that stuff off? There's the overlay. There's the loop video. I'm struggling here, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Where is the brand stuff? It's got to be under banners. I could probably do this. Here we go. So if I do Jets versus Patriots and scroll it across. There we go. Okay. So I could put those down underneath just so you guys are aware when we're talking about what game. What happened in this Vikings game? He returned it to the 30. I mean, here we go. I mean, they're in field goal range now. They have to convert this touchdown, though. I mean, obviously, if it comes to fourth down, you probably want to get points on the board, but Aaron Rodgers threw 2 picks already. They got to score this drive. They got to score. They got to score, absolutely. Okay, so Jets versus, not Jets versus Patriots. I was doing the example one. Here we go. Dolphins at Patriots. Honestly, as far as sides and totals go, I think there's value in the home dog. The but it may be tipping to the point where I think the Dolphins can squeeze one out. I do think that you could probably get some live spots here, but if we're being honest, the Dolphins are better than the Patriots. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett and Tua was supposed to be the matchup. We have Tyler Huntley. I think Tyler Huntley can have himself a game. Passing yards line is insanely low. I mean, insanely low. And for me, I think I think he can get up there. I think 175 is doable. I think his line's like 160 ish. I just think it's doable. I think he's had a little more practice to get a little more creative, more short passes, some screens, some slants, and kind of get creative with Tyreek Hill and just try to let him go and catch some speed. But the next game, Panthers and Bears, I really, really don't want to talk about. I probably lean the Bears. And then we have Colts and Jaguars, which is just another gross game. It's just going to be The Jaguars look horrible. The game of the day is Bills and the Texans. Um, Bills versus Texans. I know a lot of people are on Stephon Diggs receiving yards. I know it's a big revenge game for him. Jets just scored a touchdown, by the way. In the meantime, Alan Lazard, touchdown machine for Aaron Rodgers right now. But thank God for that game to make it interesting for the second half. But Bills Texans, I mean, you want to look at what the Bills did those first 3 weeks was just unbelievable. They were absolutely perfect. And then obviously they go to, I think they were home actually. I forget where they were, but they played the Ravens, and the Ravens really bring them back down to earth. And this is going to be, do we see them brought back down to earth again? Because Shakir is out. And honestly, he was a huge part of that offense. I mean, didn't look like it with 4 catches, 62 yards. But if you want to look at the leaders, that's the leader. Kincaid still trying to come into himself. Keon Coleman has been so inconsistent this year. He's probably going to get a huge uptick in targets. But honestly, this game is just going to be very interesting with Joe Mixon being out. The Texans, honestly, to me, looked terrible in the game against Minnesota. Then they beat Chicago and they beat Indy. But Indy, you know, Anthony Richardson kind of whatever. Then they beat Jacksonville 24-20. I mean, is Jacksonville good? I don't think Jacksonville's good at all. They're 0-4, 0-3 on the road. To me, I it's hard not to play the Bills here. I mean, a lot of guys love the Stephon Diggs, the revenge game, etc. Blah blah blah. Texans 3-1, Bills 3-1. Texans are home, but I mean the Bills team, only team they lost to was the Ravens. The Texans, I mean, the only team they lost to was the Vikings, who look fantastic. But I mean, beating Jacksonville by 4, I know it's divisional, but they didn't look that great to me. They did not look that great at all. Minnesota is a great team. I think Minnesota is fantastic. I was very high on Sam Darnold. Thought he deserved a second chance. And sometimes God makes, certain paths, even with JJ McCarthy going down, which he probably wasn't going to start anyway, but just solidified it. No pressure. Have that at Sam Darnold. I just think the Bills at plus money, I think that that's a pretty accurate stat line, accurate outcome. I think the Bills, I think they just are the better team. I honestly do. It's tough for me to take that. I'm probably taking the Bills at plus 100. I mean, you could probably live bet that game too. I know a lot of people are probably going to be on the over in that game, but we'll see. I mean, the Bills obviously without their best offensive weapon in the passing game, and we'll see. I mean, it's just going to be one of those games. So it's probably the most fun one to watch on the 1 o'clock slate. The next one being the Ravens at the Bengals. And I mean, if you want to talk about a trap game, the biggest trap game, or is it, on the slate is the Ravens minus 2.5 versus the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals, what they look terrible. They beat the Panthers for their only win last week. They're getting outscored by 2 points on the year. The Ravens at 2-2, obviously not fantastic, but you look at who the Ravens beat, and then you're like, okay, they're obviously a very good team. They've won against the Cowboys, and then they won against the Bills. They started 0-2 because they lost to the Chiefs. They were a toe. If Isaiah Likely didn't wear a size 37 shoe, do the Ravens beat the Chiefs? We don't know. And they obviously lost to the Raiders the next week, which was a horrible loss. This could happen. It's divisional. I see a huge trap game here. But I mean, is this one where you just live and die, where you just say, I'm gonna bet the Ravens minus 2.5, and if I get beat, I get beat? Because you couldn't tell me to bet the Bengals here. I mean, you could think the Bengals are going to win, but are you taking the Bengals at plus 2.5 at plus 120? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Um, and I don't know. I'm probably going to fall for the trap. They can't stop anything right now. I mean, you want to talk about teams are just running all over them. Now you got Derrick Henry. I just don't see Ravens look like they got their swagger back. You know, they obviously were 0-2. They beat the Cowboys on the road, come back home and beat what it was, in my opinion, it was looking like the best team in football in the Bills. And it's just, I really don't know. It's going to be one of those just weird things. I have to bet the Ravens. Like you can like they can lose this game, but the Bengals line, there's no one's betting that at plus 120. And if you are and you're confident, you're a liar. You're just a straight up liar. The Ravens at minus 2.5 have to be the play. Maybe you could look at a Bengals team total. I mean, a Ravens team total if you're worried. I think the Ravens score at will. And it's just going to be one of those. Like if the Ravens win by 20, are we surprised? One of those. I wish I really took that. I may make that an official play later on. I think the total of 40.5, I think it goes over. And that's just my opinion. The people's team this year, by far, is the Commanders. And the next game I want to talk about is the Browns versus the Commanders. And I have some plays in this game, and we can talk about this. But I'd be careful here. The Browns versus the Commanders. I mean, the people's team right now is the Commanders. They're looking great. Jaden Daniels looks fantastic. I mean, he's got to be rookie of the year front runner. Probably going to run away with it. They're 3-1 atop of the NFC East. Obviously, the Cowboys look rough, and the Eagles have had horrible injuries. But for them to take the top of the division right now is good to them. Jaden Daniels is legit. He looks fantastic. Nothing you can say about that. And then the Browns, on the other hand, at 1-3, Deshaun Watson looks terrible. Amari Cooper, if he does not drop the ball all the time, is an amazing wide receiver. I think he gets back on track. I'm on Jaden Daniels over rushing attempts. I'm on Amari Cooper over receiving yards. You have to take wide receivers versus the Commanders. For touchdowns, they allow, I think, 10 total receiving touchdowns to wide receivers. They don't defend receivers well. The secondary is still not great. What they do well now is that they waste so much time on the clock because they don't punt. They move the ball, they move the chains, and they keep the ball out of the defense's hands, which is why their overall numbers are down, but it's not indicative of their defense being great. That's, I think, one thing that we need to point out because receivers are still having a day with them. And Deshaun Watson, Tamari Cooper will be money. Jerry Jeudy, sneaky touchdown scorer. Very sneaky touchdown scorer. And I think at plus 300 or so on some books, you got to take him. I think the over is a great play because, again, they don't punt. 43.5 seems super low for a Commanders team. And you want to look at team points per game. Let me see here. I know Washington's at 30.3 points per game, which is just, unreal. That's number 3 in the league. The reason why the total is so low is because Cleveland's only scoring 16.5 points per game. But, the Commanders' defense is one to give up those. If you want to look at some team totals as well, the Commanders are at 22.5, 23.5. And they average 30. So, you want to look at a Commanders team total, have at it. You can do that all day. But that game will be fun to watch. If the Commanders can beat the Browns and keep moving forward while the Eagles still deal with these injuries and the Cowboys could lose to the Steelers in primetime, The Commanders could situate themselves at alone the top of the division by 2 full games, which is just an insane number for being 5 weeks in a was supposed to be one of the best divisions in football. So, we will see when that comes. Another game that should be interesting is Giants and Seahawks. Not interesting. I mean, the Giants are gonna suck. No Neighbors, no Singletary. The Giants are gonna lose by 15. I'm a Giants fan. There's no Giant stuff on my wall because they don't deserve it for right now, but the Giants should get smacked. I don't see this game being close. I really don't. I think they run the ball. Kenneth Walker has a game. Geno Smith has a game and moves the chains. Doesn't need to throw much, but does what he has to do to go forward. Um, and honestly, the 4 o'clock games are the blowout games ish, and then you have the Rams and the Packers, which could just be annoying. But Cowboys Steelers tonight on primetime will be fantastic. Um, I want to make a first touchdown score lay exclusive to the show. Um, First touchdown parlay. So you guys let me know who you guys like to score first, and we'll make a two leg, 3 leg parlay exclusive to the show, and we'll see what we can do. I mean, I could pull up the odds. I wonder if I can pull up. We'll make a first touchdown, or we could do in a DraftKings pick six thing here, which I'd love to do as well. DraftKings pick six. Put this up here. DraftKings pick six. I could put up the thing. Check out the description below. I'll post my slip on DraftKings pick six. We've teamed up with DraftKings. New customers play $5, get $50 in pick six credits instantly, plus 1 month of NFL premium on them. And honestly, DraftKings pick six should be on everyone's. If anyone in the DFS space is on DFS, you need to get it. It's a great crossover between their daily fantasy stuff and just the pick 'em where you can get great lines. You can look at rushing receiving touchdowns on here as well and get guys that are not really plus money. They're, projected to score, and those guys you can get for great value on pick six. I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. Share screen. And we'll go to DraftKings pick six. And how does that look? How does that look? You can't see because the stupid overlay here that I have. But what we can do is I can take it off and we can see it in full here. This is DraftKings Pick Six. Click the link in the description to play. I believe. Where is it? You'll see. Just use my link, Pick Six Matty, when you click the link, and we can go through and see what we want. We have passing attempts. And we could check certain lines. They only have a certain number of players for each one, obviously. Kicker points is going to be interesting for me. I like receptions. And you could, you line them up and see what you want to do. Let's see here. I kind of want to do a rushing yard and receiving yard look. We have, let's see here. Who do we want? Who do we want? CJ Stroud at 9.5. Receiving yards. We're gonna get a whole bunch of people. Mark Cooper bumped up to 56.5. I probably don't like him there. Let's see. Keon Coleman at 39.5. Kincaid at 43.5. Even Tyreek Hill. Let's see here. Tyler Huntley's at 162.5. You know what? Here we go. 162.5, Tyler Huntley. I said I believed. I like his passing yards. I think they're going to stack the box and make him throw and make it a little easier for him to throw. I'll was hoping I saw Jordan Mason on this list or Jacobs, which I don't see. Let's see here. You know, they do have kicking attempts. Let's do a kicking attempts DraftKings pick six. I mean, kicking points. Obviously, Jason Sanders at 6.5. You could do his extra points too, probably, but it's not going to be on here. You have McPherson. I'm probably taking more. I see this game 2.5 point spread, divisional game. Should be very interesting. Tyler Bass at 7.5. You kind of want to take guys at 6.5. You have the Commanders score points. That's easy money. And we have Matt Gay here, Dustin Hopkins. I'm not taking a 7.5. If I do a 7.5, I'm probably going in under, but I don't want to do that on these. These look very interesting to me. I could go Hopkins. You know what? I'm going to go Hopkins. And you could, this is ours over 5.5, over 6.5, and over 6.5. That's what's going to be. I'll share it with our thing in a bit. Stop sharing. And we'll go from there. But guys, that's going to be it for today. I like the streaming style. I'm going to get it more set up. We're going to have more guests on, and we're going to talk about more games on Sunday. On primetime games, you will see our first touchdown scorers with Austin and Alex on Mondays and Thursdays. But for Sundays, I'm going to try to create a streaming style where we go through each game, and we're going to have a guest on as well. We can kind of go through and make what we want to make. But that's going to be all for me. Make sure to download DraftKings Pick 6 and also download Smart Picks, the Flashpicks app. I'll come out with the link on my page as well for that to make your researching much easier. Best of luck on your bets today. I'll catch you guys next time.